And we are live. Welcome, Jack. It is so exciting to have you with me here today. Just checking to see that we are actually going live right now. I can see we are recording. And how are you today, Jack?
I'm doing great. It's still cold in New York City, but it's winter and it's supposed to be cold.
How cold is cold?
Well, we've had 10 below, so it's been crazy, but it's been great. It's winter.
Amazing. I can see we are definitely live on Instagram. I can see that. Just checking the other channels. We're going to be going live everywhere, Jack. So wherever Miss V is, there will be a live. Okay, we're perfect on Instagram. Hello to everyone out on Instagram. I brought an amazing guest, just waiting to see. I can see that we're at 88%, Jack, before we go live on LinkedIn, and then hopefully we'll make it live on the YouTube channel in about 9%. So we'll just get started because I know that we do have people on Instagram. So I apologize to my Instagram peeps if you hear me repeat myself. I'm going to try and put that there so that I can see you facing forward. I'm telling you, technology is a blessing, Jack, but sometimes it's a little bit too much. But anyway, here we are. Here we are. Not sure if my sound is coming across properly or not. I'm assuming it is because you're smiling, Jack. So anybody out there on Instagram, I just had this crazy idea and Jack agreed. So here we are. We're live. And I thought that instead of posting another static post, letting everyone know about the interview that I had with Jack, that I could actually bring him. We're going to spend a quick 10 minutes on all of these platforms today and just talk a little bit about who Jack is, why he agreed to speak with me and record it several times, and what type of career insights that he has that can help you regardless of where you are on your career journey. I think we might be, we are live on LinkedIn. Welcome to everybody on LinkedIn. I'm super excited to have you here with us today. And hopefully we're going to go live on YouTube in a minute. I can see it's about to go live, so we're just going to jump right in. Welcome, everyone. My name is Miss V. Many of you know me as Miss V. Some of you might know me as Maria. Jack is beginning to wish he probably didn't meet me a long time ago, because what started as a quick fire conversation ended up into several career conversations, a recording, a trial on LinkedIn Live yesterday without realizing we were going live, and here we are again. Thank you, Jack, for being with me again and for sharing your insights. We're not going to jump into the entire interview because we want to leave our guests to do that. But I did think it might be a great idea for you to kind of give us a zip, trailer version of why you think your interview with me was something that you know can bring insight to people, regardless of whether they're 15, 18, 25, 35, 55, or 75. Why are your tips going to help them?
Yeah, I think, first of all, thank you, Maria. And it's really always a pleasure with you. And, you're really one of the smartest people I've met in a really, really long time. So, people that follow you are really blessed, honestly. What this podcast was really about, it's really about me giving people heartburn. And people are shocked. And I don't do that because I'm trying to be provocative. I do it because I see things that other people miss. I'm a very, very different person. I call myself a Fruit Loop and a bowl of Cheerios. And if you're looking for smooth, familiar, or comforting, you're really in the wrong place for me. Okay, Maria's a little bit more conservative, but it's an interesting balance that we provide. Our podcast conversation really wasn't about resumes or checklists or 5 steps in getting you in the door. It was about what happens with really smart people, students, career professionals. And what they're doing is they keep doing everything right, but they still don't get asked to the dance. And that's tremendously frustrating to them. And I get it. What they're doing, they're following all the rules. They polish their stories, they say safe things, and they still can't figure out what's going on. And the reason is that the only question that really, really matters that never gets answered is, why should I buy you versus the other 50 to the 150 other people that look exactly the same way on paper? And what I call that is parity superiority. Everybody's great. Everybody's got all the checklists. And what people aren't doing, they're not figuring that out. They're following the old rules. Okay. And that's really the conversation that we had. And if you're sitting there saying, oh shit, you know what? I don't exactly have an answer to that. Okay. And my response is good. I've given you a little agita. And, agita, that's New York for heartburn. So my premise is, you know what? Stop sitting around here. Seriously, turn us off. You don't need to listen to anything more that we've got to say. Go listen to the full podcast. Okay. That's going to really give you the insights. And the one thing that, I can give you that you can take away from today, and write this down. I tell this to every single person. The only word you really need to remember is differentiation. Okay. Why should I buy you versus anybody else? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Because if you can't ask that, then you're not providing the solution to the people that are looking to you for the answer. They're not going to give you the answer. Okay. They want it from you. You need to provide them with the answer. So you know what? Shut us down. Go watch the full podcast. You can thank me later. Maria.
That is, whenever you talk about superiority and parity superiority, it always makes me think about the trending theme of stand out, step outside the box. It's okay to be different, dream big, be different. But life teaches us very quickly that that's okay for some people. But for most people, you got to play inside the lines. You have to follow the rules. You have to make sure that you appease your employer, blah, 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 blah. And I know that's a bit of a generalization, but Jack, from your lived experiences, from all of the career experiences that you've had, when did playing inside the lines help you, and when did it hinder your growth?
You know what? I think playing inside the lines is a 1950 mentality. Okay.
Ooh,
I just
okay.
totally. I just got a text from an old friend of mine that told me he was laid off from, one of the biggest banks in the world, Citibank. I don't care. I could name them. I mean, he's pissed. He really thought that this was a long-term career. And I said, there is no security anywhere about playing in the lines. Okay. You need to understand what makes you different. What are you going to provide that nobody else does? And that's the essence of everything. It's the essence of branding. It's the essence of separation and differentiation. You need to, and I say that, and again, I'm not Fruit Loop and a bowl of Cheerios. God willing, there's nobody else like me out there. I couldn't deal with another one of me. Okay. But you've got to figure out what you're comfortable with, what your differentiation is. And the ability to fit in the lines doesn't work anymore. If you're looking for examples, look at every successful billionaire and look at what they did. What did they do? They did different. Okay. If you're looking for safe, if you're looking for secure, you know what? You're in the wrong space. That doesn't exist anymore. Okay. But you need to do it within your own personality, your own comfort zone. But, that's why people come to me. I make them uncomfortable and I tell them up front, I'm going to give you a heartburn. Okay. Oh my God, why am I talking to you? Well, you know what? Because you haven't been able to figure it out and you need to have a different perspective. You don't have to buy it. That's okay. Okay. But if you're looking to solve a problem that you haven't been able to solve, we've talked about this, definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. That's where these people are.
So tell me something, Jack, because I completely agree. I totally agree. I see individuals, whether they're teenagers beginning to make that career decision or the first of many decisions, individuals mid-career where they're pivoting. I've seen women try to return to work after taking time away from the corporate world to become CEO of their household. And I've also seen individuals through the global pandemic have to redefine who they are because of losing opportunities through that pandemic. And then I've seen individuals retire and jump back in after retirement. I've seen them at all different stages. I find that in those narratives, what I hear most often is when individuals have almost crossed over an edge of what used to define them to, you know what, it's a jungle out there and I am not playing small anymore. And it's almost on that cusp of change that courage and resilience seem to, 10x themselves. Would you say in your lived experience that you had a pinnacle moment like that? Or were you always an individual that said, you know what, stand out, be different? And I know we're not going to jump into everything we talked about. I know I promised you a 10-minute. I can see we're already at 11 and a half minutes, but let's say the technology took some of that time. However, in saying that, Jack, were you always this dynamic? Was this always you? If I met 22-year-old Jack, would he be the same as you are today? Was there a pivotal moment for you, or was it just you got to this stage and you're like, as I look back, I realize playing small never served me in my career, and this is what I would do different? Because I think
Yeah, no,
knowing that helps people.
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, I tell people my life story, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're still around. I mean, there was nothing dramatic about it because that's how my life was. But I learned everything inside out, backwards, upside down. There was never ever a clear career path. I mean, I'll give you one of the greatest examples. Going to college. Okay, I commuted the first 2 years. The third year, I lived off campus. And the fourth year, my senior I lived in a dorm. Who does that? I mean, that is totally backwards. So that gives you exactly my career path. And, where I winded up, my business, as you know, is Finding Next. And Finding Next helps people answer the question that I was never able to answer. And that question is so relevant to everything that we're talking about. And the question is, within my skill set, what else can I do? And those are the people that are stuck because, I just had a friend of mine who was a dentist. And he says, I hate practicing dentistry. I'm quitting it. I went to dental school to, for all of these wrong reasons. What are you doing now? I'm a yoga instructor. Okay. So nobody has a clean path anymore. Okay. They really, really have to. And you know what? For me, I think that's great. For me, it's never, ever the destination. It's the path that you're taking. It's the journey. The journey is what is about life. When you wind up, don't take this the wrong way, but you wind up in the final destination, I think you're dead. That's no fun anymore. Take the journey, experience life, but understand that you're put here for a reason. And the last thing I'll leave you with is that, people always say, all right, Jack, like you got it down, but it took me a really, really long time to figure that out. But what happens is every single person is different by design. Your DNA is not replicable for any other human being. So start that, look inside. And, one of the things that I offer is, I have an assessment that is totally, downloadable. It's free. I'll send it to anybody, but it answers the question, what makes you, you? And that's the starting point that I always start with my clients. If you can answer that question, and it's not your CV, it's not your resume, who are you, Maria? Okay, you know who I am, right? I see things other people miss. I'm a Fruit Loop and a bowl of Cheerios, right? I'm predictably unpredictable. So you get a sense of my persona, but I need to get other people to understand what makes you, you. If you can figure that out, you are absolutely going to have a much, much better life and a better career. So watch the podcast, stop listening to this crazy guy in red glasses talk.
I love it. I love it. I know who I am. I'm going to be the one to say we are over our time. It has been so great to have you with me again. Anyone watching the replay, if you want to see the full interview, I've added the link into the LinkedIn comments. I'm going to add it to, I've also added it on Instagram and YouTube. You don't need to go very far. Just head over to my videos, Let's Talk Careers with Miss V, and you'll find Jack and Maria's interview. Thank you so much, Jack. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, LinkedIn. Thank you, Instagram. And thank you, YouTube. I don't know which camera I'm supposed to be looking at. I apologize for the side view. But hey, Jack, I did it. We went live on 3 different platforms. I am really, really chuffed with myself. Okay, everybody, have a great morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Jack. Thanks for being with me today. And I will attempt to exit on all these platforms.